Florence is one of the most visited cities in Italy, and for good reason. The Duomo, the Uffizi, Michelangelo's David, they're all incredible. But with millions of tourists flooding the city every year, most people end up doing the exact same things and missing out on some of Florence's best experiences. So today I'm showing you 7 things to do in Florence that most people completely miss. Everyone knows that you can climb to the top of the Duomo for incredible views of Florence, but what most people don't realize is that the Campanile, which is the bell tower right next to the Duomo, offers arguably even better views and way smaller crowds. The Campanile was designed by Giotto, and it's this beautiful Gothic tower covered in marble. The climb is 414 steps with no elevator, so you definitely need to be ready for that, but it's totally worth it. As you climb up, there are a few stopping points where you can catch your breath and look out over the city, and when you reach the top, you'll get a 360-degree view of Florence, and here's the best part: you can actually see the Duomo in your photos. Climbing the Duomo itself gets you great views of the city, but you can't actually see the Duomo, which is kind of a big point. But from the Campanile, you get the terracotta rooftops, the hills of Tuscany in the distance, and that iconic dome right in front of you. While hundreds of people are waiting in line for the Duomo, you'll maybe find 20 or 30 people at the Campanile. Plus, the tickets are also combined, so if you buy a ticket for the Duomo complex, you can just visit both. If you want that classic Florence skyline shot with the Duomo in it, the Campanile is where you need to go. After climbing the Campanile, let's head to the Bardini Gardens. Most tourists flock to the Boboli Gardens, which are beautiful but also incredibly crowded. The Bardini Gardens though are right next door but get a fraction of the visitors. These gardens were designed in the Baroque style and they're absolutely stunning. You'll find terrace gardens with perfectly manicured hedges, wisteria tunnels that bloom in spring, and some of the best views of Florence you can get. The gardens climb up the hill behind the Arno River, and as you walk up through the different levels, the views just keep getting better. At the very top, there's this Belvedere Terrace, and when you stand there, you'll see the entire city laid out before you with the Duomo rising above everything else. The gardens are way more peaceful than Boboli too. You can actually hear the birds chirping instead of just a bunch of tour groups talking. There's also this incredible Baroque staircase covered in wisteria that's absolutely beautiful if you visit in April or May. The purple flowers hang down and create this natural tunnel. But even if you visit outside of wisteria season, the gardens are still worth it for the views alone. The entrance fee is only about 10 euros max, and you can easily spend an hour or two just wandering around. If you want to escape the crowds and see Florence from a different perspective, the Bardini Gardens are a must. Continuing with the theme of views, let's talk about San Miniato al Monte. This is a Romanesque church sitting on top of a hill on the south side of the Arno River, and it's one of the most beautiful churches in Florence that hardly any tourists visit. To get there, you can either walk up from Piazzale Michelangelo or take the bus. The walk is steep, but when you arrive at the top, you'll understand why it's worth it. The church itself is stunning with its geometric facade made of white and green marble, and inside you'll find incredible mosaics and frescoes that date back to the 11th century. So for all the art lovers out there, you should definitely make this church a priority. But the real reason you have to come here is for the sunset. When you step outside onto the terrace in front of the church, you'll have one of the most incredible views of Florence. The city spreads out below you, bathed in a golden light as the sun sets behind the hills. You'll see the Duomo, the Palazzo Vecchio, and the river winding through the city. It's really one of those views that makes you stop and just appreciate where you are. And obviously the best part is that barely anyone comes up here. You might share the space with only 10 to 15 people instead of the hundreds crowding the Piazzale Michelangelo. If you time it right and visit just before sunset, you'll experience Florence in the most magical light possible. From San Miniato, let's head down to the Oltrarno neighborhood. This is the area on the other side of the Arno River from the main tourist center, and it's where you'll find the real Florence. Most tourists stick to the area around the Duomo and the Uffizi, but Oltrarno is where locals actually live and work. The streets here are lined with artisan workshops where you can watch craftsmen making leather goods, restoring furniture, and creating jewelry using techniques that haven't changed in centuries. You'll find small family-run restaurants where the menu changes daily based on what's fresh, and the owner sometimes comes out to chat with you. There's stuff like vintage shops, independent boutiques, and small galleries showing contemporary art. The neighborhood has that authentic lived-in feel that the touristy areas kinda have lost. One street you need to walk down is the Via di Santo Spirito. It's got great bars and restaurants, and in the evening you'll see locals hanging out in the piazza in front of the Santo Spirito church. Another highlight is the artisan shops around Via Maggio and Via Santo Spirito. You can watch bookbinders, frame makers, and leather workers doing their craft. And some of these workshops have been family run for generations. If you want to buy something authentic to take home from Florence, this is absolutely where you should do it. Skip the tourist trap leather markets near the Duomo and come to Oltrarno, where you can see the actual craftsmen making the products and the quality is infinitely better. While you're in Oltrarno, you need to experience a proper Florentine aperitivo. This is the Italian tradition of having a pre-dinner drink with snacks, and it's a huge part of the culture here. Most tourists don't know about this, or they just go to the wrong places. Find a small wine bar in Oltrarno, and between between 6 and 8 p.m., you'll see locals gathering for aperitivo. You order a drink, usually a spritz or glass of wine, and it comes with complimentary food. You'll get bruschetta, cheese, olives, sometimes even pasta salads and mini sandwiches. And some places put out a whole buffet. The key is to find a place where locals go, not just some touristy bar. And in Oltrarno, there's gonna be tons of great options for you. You'll sit outside if the weather's nice, sip your drink, snack on the food, and just watch Florence go by. This is how Italians transition from work to dinner, and it's one of the best ways to experience the local culture. You'll see groups of friends catching up, couples on dates, and locals who've been coming to the same spot for years. The atmosphere is relaxed and social, and you'll feel like you're actually living in Florence rather than just visiting. And the best part is obviously that it's affordable. For just 8 to 10 euros, you get a drink and enough food that you might not even need dinner. When you find yourself in Oltrarno in the early evening, skip the tourist restaurants and find a local wine bar for aperitivo instead. Now let's leave the city center for a bit and take a day trip to Fiesole. This is a small hilltop town just 30 minutes from Florence by bus, and barely any tourists make the trip up here. Fiesole is actually older than Florence, and it was originally an Etruscan settlement. The town sits high on a hill overlooking Florence, and the views are spectacular. You can see the entire city spread out below you, with the Tuscan countryside rolling away in every direction. The main square in Fiesole is charming, with cafes and restaurants where you can sit and enjoy the slower pace. But the big highlight in my opinion is the Roman ruins. There's an ancient Roman theater that's still incredibly well preserved, and you can walk right through it. They actually still use it for concerts and performances in the summer. There's also a small archaeological museum with Etruscan and Roman artifacts. And after exploring the ruins, you can hike up to the San Francesco Monastery, which sits even higher on the hill. The walk takes about 15 minutes, and when you reach the top, the views are even better. You'll feel like you're miles away from the tourist crowds of Florence, even though you're just a quick bus ride away. Fiesole is also a great place to have lunch. The restaurants here are more affordable than in Florence, and the food is just as good. You can get a proper Tuscan meal without the jacked up tourist prices. The whole trip takes half a day, so you can go in the morning, explore, have lunch, and be back in Florence by mid-afternoon. It's just the perfect little escape from the chaos of the city center. For our final hidden gem, let's talk about the Stibbert Museum. This is one of the most unique museums in Florence, and probably 99% of tourists have never heard of it. Frederick Stibbert was a wealthy British-Italian collector who lived in Florence in the 1800s, and he had an obsession with armor and weapons. His former villa is now a museum displaying his massive collection of over 50,000 objects. There are entire rooms filled with knights in full armor mounted on armored horses. You'll see samurai armor from Japan, Islamic weapons from the Middle East, and European swords and shields from every era. It's like stepping into a medieval armory, but on a cross-generational scale. The collection is displayed in Stibbert's former home, so you're walking through ornate rooms with frescoed ceilings and period furniture. Each room has a different theme, and the attention to detail is incredible. Some of the armor is displayed on mannequins and battle formations, so it looks like you're watching an actual medieval cavalry charge. So if you or the people you're going with love military history, this is an absolute must. The museum also has a beautiful garden that you can walk through. It's got winding paths, hidden statues, and even a small Egyptian temple that Stibbert built. The gardens are especially nice in spring when everything's in bloom. And the best part about the Stibbert Museum is that you'll probably have it almost to yourself. While the Uffizi has thousands of people shuffling through, you might see just 5 or 10 other visitors at the Stibbert. You can take your time, really look at everything, take it all in, and just not feel rushed at all. The museum is a bit outside of the city center, but it's easy to reach by bus. So once again, if you're interested in history, military artifacts, or just want to see something completely different, the Stibbert Museum is absolutely worth the trip. And that's it for this video of 7 things to do in Florence that most tourists miss. These experiences will hopefully show you a side of the city that most people never see, and honestly, they're just as memorable as the main attractions. Let me know in the comments what your favorite spots of Florence are, or what other places you want me to cover. I'd appreciate if you liked and subscribed if you enjoyed the video or it was helpful, and thank you for watching.